Actually, hello everybody. I think we should have some kind of balloon debate as to who you want to throw down the helter-skelter first. It could be me. It could be me. I am the Active Travel Project Director for Sheffield City Region. I was appointed shortly after Dame Sarah Storey. Here's Dame Sarah with Mayor Dan Jarvis, who will soon be in Purda, so we might have to blank him out and make him very quiet there. Actually, I'll tell you the absolute truth. When Sarah was appointed as Active Travel Commissioner, she met with me, and it was in the Tour de Yorkshire, and there was this massive launch day in Leeds, and I live in Leeds, so she said, I tell you what, well, let's meet up in Leeds. So we went and sat in a coffee shop, and we dreamed these 4 things up, and they've stood by us all the way through. These are Sarah's 4 pledges. First one will be led by our communities, so we don't want to be in the position of doing things to people anymore. We want to be enabling people to get what they really want. The second one is there's a subtle nuance in here. We will enable active travel, we won't just encourage it. And I think that just encourage it is a really important thing in that for years, most of my lifetime, we have been encouraging people to cycle and walk more. Anybody know what the percentage of people cycling in the UK is, cycling to work? Just about 2%. What was the percentage of people cycling to work in about 1980? Just about 2%. So for most of my working life, I've been a dismal failure, which is why I've been appointed to this position. So we don't want to be in the position of encouraging, because we know that doesn't work, especially with cycling, that most people don't cycle for one very simple reason, is because they don't feel safe. So we have to make it so that you're going to feel safe, and then it'll work. So the next thing is all our infrastructure will meet or exceed our requirements. There's a really interesting study of the London boroughs, and they looked at the London boroughs that put in segregated cycle facilities, they looked at the London boroughs that put in shared use pavements, and the London boroughs that did nothing. And the ones that put in shared use pavements, the cycling stayed the same or went down compared to the ones that did nothing. So what have we been putting in across the region for the last sort of 10 years? Shared use pavements. So we're not going to do any more of that. So and the last bit is all of our infrastructure will be accessible to all. That means our cycle lanes need to be wide enough for 3- and 4-wheeled cycles. That means our footways need to be wide enough for wheelchairs, and quite often people who need a wheelchair quite often have somebody next to them. Somebody who's blind or partially sighted quite often has somebody next to them. So those minimum requirements flow through our commitments, and it's really important to Sarah as a para-athlete that we do these. So I've missed out a whole load of slides because we've got to the milestones, but by December this year we will have submitted our Transforming Cities Fund bid. It's roughly about 220 million. About half of that, 110 million pounds, will be for active travel. And I don't suppose many of you know how much of a stretch that would be. Given that that's 3 years build between 2020 and 2023, and for the first year you spend designing, you're going to spend, that means we're going to try and spend about 50 million pounds per year for 2 years. And I know Ambrose is over there from West Yorkshire Combined Authority. They've just spent about 5 years putting 50 million pounds worth of active travel infrastructure in, so that'll be a big stretch. We'll also have we'll have a draft of the active travel implementation plan. We'll tell you a bit more about that as we go along. A key thing that we've learned from Manchester is that we need to know what the network will look like. So we've done a whole load of work. It's just about reaching its culmination of mapping what we think the active travel network should look like for 2040. And our job is to come up with a generalised cost for that. It'll be somewhere £4 or £5 billion, and go back to government and say, right, Stop giving us little bits of money for specific things in active travel. What we need is active travel, cycling and walking, to be treated like any other mode of transport. We need continuous funding, and we'll have a list of schemes and we'll implement them ourselves, rather than we bid for money, we build a little bit of this, we build a little bit of that, and guess what happens? None of it links up into a network. So get the network vision, fulfill that network. And also, we know that roughly 10 to 20% of the capital cost has to be delivered in revenue funding, because most people don't think of walking and cycling as a means of transport. Most people think about public transport and cars. So I've taken a bit of a punt after talking to your organisers, and I thought you might need to know about this. This is the interactive maps. Anybody seen it? Great. Oh, fantastic. Loads of you have. Okay, this is a key part. This is about being led by our communities, and we launched this 3 weeks ago. Within about, I think it's a day, wasn't it, Molly? About a day, we got 500 comments. So it went pretty well for the first week. It's calmed down a bit. It's calmed down a bit more. So if you don't know about this and you haven't done anything about it, have a go. What you do is, I'll show you on Google in a sec, but you can find any street you like. If you've got a comment about the active travel infrastructure, good or bad, you can put it up there. But taking the punt that you might be interested in this, I've got some stats for you. So as of last Friday, 1,980 comments, which is pretty good for public participation in transport, and 636 users. Now, that's really important to me, because some of the authorities have said to me, you know what, you'll get the usual suspects. You'll get every Dexter's mob, you get all the Dexter's mob from the cycling campaign, they'll go on there. How many members have you got at Sheffield Cycling Campaign?
1,500.
Okay, so that's, you reckon they're all on there?
No, they shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should do. Okay, so we've got to get all of them and a whole load more. But actually, I think when I look at this, because I can see the users, we know that they're not all just the usual suspects. We are actually getting a whole load of people to contribute to this map. That's quite interesting. There's a facility on the map to stick a thumbs up on any comment, so we got quite a bit of interaction. Here's roughly what a comment looks like, though. So, dangerous junctions, impatient drivers. This is one of the top viewed comments. So people are saying this road it has got obstructed views. During rush hour, the drivers often make turns on and off these side roads with little regard for cyclists and crossing pedestrians. Anybody ever had that experience? Drivers not making much allowance for you? Yes, there's a few hands up, a few people nodding. Yeah, most people. Okay, and what's useful about this, you can stick a thumbs up on it, and if you click on the share this, you can export the comment with your comment to social media, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Here's another one. I know one of these comments, that's Molly over there, who this bit here is, she hates it. So we've got a whole load of stuff about this junction. It just recently featured on a BBC film about children walking to school, a pollution hotspot, a traffic hotspot in a little valley, not very nice. Most upvoted comment, new cycling lanes make cycling here dangerous. So this is a part of looking at quite often the infrastructure that's put in. It's put in piecemeal, it's not really thought about properly, the wrong kind of infrastructure is put in the right kind of place, or something like that. A little bit about demographics, so I'm relatively content with this. We've got a large number of 25 to 30-year-olds, and actually if you look at certainly the average cycling community, and if you look at the walking community, tends to be slightly older people who are interacting. And we're about 60-40 on gender. Somebody showed me that actually that's more to do with the demographics of people using this kind of site. It's not. So we're relatively content with that, given that out there are, those of you that cycle will know mostly it's kind of 70-30, 80-20 in Sheffield City Region towards men. Very pleased about this. So most of the people are accessing this through their phone. And I think that's really useful for us because it shows we've got a tool that is enabling people to do it as they move around. That if you find a junction that's not very good, it's quite good to be able to do it then and there. And it's a relatively quick and easy bit. So that is all I intended. If you want the site, I'll just show you the live site. You can click on any comment, you can zoom in, so if you zoom in you get more and more, and then eventually you'll land on one comment. So that's the way it works. You can search, you can search for a street, you can put your comment in. It requires you to register through your email address. I think one of the things that's most pleasing about this site is that it's moderated. We've had no comments removed because they're rude, or we've not had any of that kind of interaction at all. So most people are taking this site really, really seriously. And I think for us, that's really heartening that people have engaged with this project in the spirit that it's meant. We want to know why people and where people find things difficult. Okay, if you want to know more, I'm going to flag up some people in the room that work for Sheffield City Region. Firstly, there's Molly. She also knows Hunter's Bar roundabout like the back of her hand. And there is Chloe and Jenny over there. Can you wave your hands in the air? They're from the transport team, so they know more about transport than I do. And that's it, I think. Is that roughly what you wanted?
Perfect, yeah.
About 10 minutes? It was about 10 minutes.